Hey everyone, and welcome back to AI Paper Podcast. Today we're doing a deep dive into a paper that has been making some serious waves in the AI community.
Yeah, this is a big one.
It's NatureLM. And
NatureLM.
yeah, buckle up, because this model is aiming to be the ultimate multi-tool for scientific discovery.
It really is. I mean, we're talking about a single model that can handle everything from, designing molecules and proteins to predicting material properties and even generating RNA sequences for CRISPR gene editing.
It sounds almost too good to be true.
It's pretty wild.
For those of you just joining us, let's kick things off with a quick summary of what makes NatureLM so groundbreaking.
For sure. So NatureLM is a new foundation model that is trained on a massive data set of both text and scientific sequences from a whole bunch of different domains.
Okay.
And I think what really sets it apart is its ability to act as a generalist, tackling a wide range of tasks that usually require specialized models.
So instead of having separate AI models for drug discovery, materials science, and genomics, we could potentially have one model that does it all.
Exactly. And it's not just about, breadth.
Right.
NatureLM is also achieving state-of-the-art performance in some seriously challenging tasks.
Okay, like what?
So, for example, it can design new molecules with specific properties, even outperforming some methods that rely on 3D structure information.
Wow, that's impressive. So, it's learning some seriously sophisticated chemistry just from reading text and sequences.
And that's not all. It can generate protein sequences that are more likely to fold correctly than natural proteins.
Really?
It can design guide RNA sequences for CRISPR with pinpoint accuracy.
Okay.
And it can even predict the crystal structures of materials with remarkable precision.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So let's unpack how they actually created such a versatile model.
Yeah.
The paper mentions something about representing everything as sequences.
Yes.
What's the deal with that?
That is definitely one of the key innovations here.
Okay.
So they basically found a way to convert everything, molecules, proteins, DNA, RNA, even materials, into sequences of characters. So molecules are represented as SMILES strings, proteins, and NARNA as FASTA sequences, and materials as sequences of elements and space groups.
So they are speaking the language of giant language models, which are already amazing at understanding sequences.
Exactly. By transforming everything into this consistent format, they can leverage the power of those massive language models that have been making waves in the AI world. But here is the really clever part.
Okay, I'm sensing a but coming.
They didn't just feed the model raw scientific data.
Right.
They also incorporated a ton of text from scientific literature and databases. It's like they're teaching the AI not just the vocabulary of science, but also the grammar and context.
Interesting.
The way scientists actually think and communicate about these concepts.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like giving the model a deeper understanding of the scientific world, not just a bunch of data points.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what this thing can actually do.
Okay, let's do it.
The paper highlights some pretty impressive results with small molecules. What were some of the standout achievements there?
Yeah, so for starters, it can generate new chemically valid molecules from scratch. And it does this with a level of uniqueness that surpasses even powerful LLMs like GPT-4.
Wow, okay.
But where it really shines is in property-to-molecule generation.
You mean designing molecules with specific properties like drug-likeness or solubility?
Precisely. So you give it the desired properties, and it attempts to design a molecule that fits the bill.
Okay.
They tested it with single properties, combinations of properties, and even on real-world drug discovery tasks like generating potential drug molecules for specific protein targets.
So could I ask it to design a molecule that is highly soluble, has good bioavailability, and binds to a particular enzyme, and it would actually have a shot at coming up with something viable?
The results suggest that is a real possibility.
That's amazing.
What blew me away was that in some cases, NatureLM even outperformed approaches that rely on 3D structure information.
Hold on, you're telling me it can design effective drug molecules without needing to know what they look like in 3D space?
That's what the data suggests.
That's pretty wild.
It seems like it's learning some kind of implicit understanding of 3D structure just from sequences and text, which is pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah, it is.
And, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, wow.
It's not only making waves in chemistry, but also showing incredible potential in the world of proteins.
Okay, let's see what this multi-talented model can do with proteins.
When it comes to proteins, NatureLM is really demonstrating a similar level of proficiency.
Okay.
It can generate protein sequences that are not only longer and more diverse than those produced by general-purpose language models, but they're also more likely to fold into stable functional structure.
So it's not just stringing amino acids together randomly, it's actually learning the principles of protein folding.
Yeah, exactly.
That's incredible.
And just like with small molecules, you can actually guide NatureLM to generate proteins with specific properties using text prompts.
Oh, really?
For example, you could ask it to design a protein that is highly stable in a specific temperature range, or one that is particularly soluble in a certain solvent.
So if I needed a protein that could withstand extreme heat, I could literally just ask NatureLM to create one.
That's the idea, and the really amazing part is that they found NatureLM actually outperforms natural protein sequences when it comes to generating proteins with enhanced stability for certain properties.
Wow, that's fascinating. So it's not just mimicking nature, it's actually learning to design proteins that are in some ways better than what we find in the natural world.
Yeah, it seems that way, at least for specific properties.
Okay.
They also explored NatureLM's capabilities in antibody design,
Okay.
specifically in generating the CBRH3 region of antibodies, which is the part that binds to antigens.
So potentially this could revolutionize how we develop new antibodies for treating diseases or even engineering new diagnostic tools.
Absolutely. And get this, it actually achieved performance comparable to specialized models that were specifically designed for antibody engineering.
That's remarkable. And you mentioned earlier that NatureLM isn't limited to just molecules and proteins.
Right.
It can also tackle materials science.
Yes, and that's another area where it really shines. Materials science is a notoriously complex field.
Yeah.
Because it involves understanding the relationship between a material's atomic structure and its macroscopic properties.
So how did NatureLM handle this challenge?
Well, it tackled it head on.
Okay.
They found that NatureLM could generate plausible material compositions both unconditionally and when given specific elements to work with.
So I could tell it design a material with lithium, cobalt, and oxygen, and it would come up with a chemically sensible composition.
Precisely. And it goes beyond just, creating random compositions.
Okay.
They tested its ability to generate materials with a target bulk modulus, which is a measure of a material's resistance to compression.
And it was able to hit that target.
It showed promising results in that area.
That's really cool.
They even fine-tuned NatureLM to predict the crystal structures of materials.
Wait, so it can predict how the atoms are arranged within a material just from its composition?
That's right, and it achieves state-of-the-art performance on established benchmarks for crystal structure prediction.
Wow.
Now, remember how we talked about NatureLM being a jack of all trades?
Yeah.
Well, it's also showing remarkable skills in the world of nucleotides, DNA and RNA.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's hear what it can do with the building blocks of life itself.
So when it comes to RNA, NatureLM can generate sequences unconditionally, just like with molecules and proteins. But what's particularly interesting is that the RNA sequences it generates seem to have a higher likelihood of forming stable secondary structures.
How can they tell if a generated RNA sequence is likely to be stable?
They use a metric called minimum free energy, or MFE,
Okay.
which essentially estimates the thermodynamic stability of an RNA molecule based on its sequence.
Right.
And NatureLM consistently generated sequences with lower MFE values, suggesting they were more likely to fold into stable structures compared to randomly generated sequences.
So it's not just spitting out random strings of nucleotides. It's actually learning something about the rules that govern RNA folding.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What else can it do with RNA?
Well, they specifically investigated its ability to design guide RNA sequences for CRISPR gene editing.
So potentially it could accelerate the development of new CRISPR-based therapies and gene editing tools?
Exactly. And the results were very encouraging.
Okay.
NatureLM was able to design guide RNA sequences that accurately targeted specific DNA sequences, even incorporating the necessary PAM sequence, which is essential for CRISPR to work.
Wow, this is incredible. But it gets even better. They also explored its ability to design RNA sequences that could bind to specific proteins. So it's not just generating RNA in isolation, it's learning about how RNA interacts with other molecules.
Precisely, and it performed exceptionally well in this task, generating RNA sequences that were more likely to bind to target proteins compared to randomly generated sequences or those created by smaller models.
Okay, it's official. NatureLM is like the Swiss Army knife of AI for science. But apart from generating and designing molecules, proteins, materials, and RNA, the paper also mentions that it can predict molecular and protein properties.
That's right. They wanted to see if NatureLM could not only create new things, but also understand existing molecules and proteins.
What kinds of properties were they able to predict?
So for small molecules, they focused on properties that are crucial for drug development, like blood-brain barrier penetration, binding affinity to specific targets like base and toxicity.
Okay.
And for proteins, they looked at properties like solubility, stability, and the likelihood of two proteins interacting with each other.
So could I ask it to predict whether a particular drug molecule would be able to reach the brain, or if two proteins are likely to bind together and get a reliable answer?
They tested it on those exact types of questions, and it showed strong performance, often rivaling that of specialized models designed for those specific prediction tasks.
This is truly remarkable. It feels like we are witnessing a paradigm shift in how AI can be used to accelerate scientific discovery. But before we get carried away, is there anything NatureLM can't do well? After all, no model is perfect.
Yeah, you're right. Every model has its limitations.
Right.
And while NatureLM exhibits a really strong foundation in understanding scientific language and concepts, its performance on the Alpaca-Eval benchmark, which assesses general language understanding and the ability to follow instructions, suggests it's not quite as adept at handling general user instructions compared to models like Mixtral, the model it's based on.
That makes sense, given that it's been trained primarily on scientific data. It's likely more comfortable with technical language and scientific tasks.
Exactly, but the researchers are aware of this limitation and are actively exploring ways to enhance its general language capabilities in future versions.
So it's not perfect, but it's still an incredible leap forward in the development of AI for science.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they are already working on making it even better.
That's right. They have explored a couple of very interesting strategies to further boost NatureLM's performance. Shall we dive into those next?
Lead the way. I am eager to learn how they are pushing the boundaries even further. So we've talked about how impressive NatureLM is, but also that it's not perfect.
Right.
So what are some of the things that researchers are doing to try and make it even better?
Well, they've been experimenting with a couple of really interesting approaches.
Okay.
One of them is reinforcement learning with human feedback, or RLHF.
RLHF, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
It's the idea of training AI models to better align with human preferences and values, right?
Exactly. And in the context of NatureLM, they are using RLHF to train it to optimize molecules for specific properties without relying solely on direct supervision from labeled data.
So instead of explicitly telling the model what a good molecule looks like, they're letting it learn from human feedback on its designs.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty innovative.
It is. They basically present the model with pairs of molecules and have humans indicate which one is better based on the desired properties. And the model then learns to distinguish between them and improve its designs over time based on this feedback.
So it's like having a team of expert chemists guiding the model toward better solutions.
Exactly.
That's a pretty neat way to leverage human expertise.
Yeah.
What about the other strategy you mentioned, dedicated fine-tuning?
Right, so they also explore fine-tuning NatureLM for specific tasks like retrosynthesis and material property prediction to see if they could squeeze even more performance out of the model.
So instead of trying to be a jack of all trades, they focused on making it a master of one.
Yeah, basically.
What were the results like?
They were pretty impressive by fine-tuning NatureLM on large specialized datasets like Pistachio for retrosynthesis and MapBench for material property prediction. They achieved state-of-the-art results, even surpassing models specifically designed for those tasks.
So it seems like NatureLM can be incredibly powerful when it's given the right training and focus. Makes me wonder where this could all lead in the future. Could we see NatureLM or similar models becoming the go-to tools for scientific discovery?
I think that is a very real possibility. You know, the potential here is enormous.
Yeah.
Imagine a future where scientists can interact with these models using natural language.
Yeah.
Ask them to design experiments, generate hypotheses, analyze data, and even explore completely new scientific avenues that we might not have even thought of before.
That's a pretty exciting vision. It almost feels like science fiction, but it's becoming increasingly real. It's also important to remember that these models are tools.
Right.
And like any tool, they need to be used responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely. It is crucial to ensure that these AI systems are transparent, reliable, and unbiased in their outputs.
Yeah.
We also need to consider the potential societal implications of using AI in scientific discovery and make sure that these technologies are used to benefit humanity as a whole.
Those are incredibly important considerations. It seems like NatureLM is opening up a whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah.
But it's also raising some important questions that we need to address as a society.
I completely agree. As we continue to push the boundaries of AI in science, we need to have these open and thoughtful discussions about the ethical and societal implications of these powerful technologies.
Well said. This has been an incredible deep dive into NatureLM, and I think it's safe to say that we're just scratching the surface of what's possible. What is one key takeaway you would want our viewers to leave with today?
I think the biggest takeaway is that foundation models like NatureLM represent a fundamental shift in how we approach scientific discovery.
Okay.
We're moving away from specialized models that excel in a single domain towards general-purpose AI systems that can seamlessly integrate knowledge from multiple disciplines.
It's not just about creating smarter AI. It's about creating AI that can help us ask better questions, explore new frontiers, and ultimately accelerate scientific progress for the benefit of all humankind.
Exactly. NatureLM is a testament to how far we have come in AI research, and it offers a glimpse of the incredible potential that lies ahead.
I could not agree more. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into NatureLM.
Of course.
If you are as excited about this research as we are, we encourage you to check out the full paper for yourselves. And as always, we want to hear your thoughts. Let us know in the comments what you think about NatureLM and the future of AI for science. Until next time, keep exploring.